Right, we got everybody. Is that working? Yes. Oh, great, we got everybody in. Great, great, great. A couple of quick things, housekeeping. There is that way? Yes. That better? Yes. No good? Good. Welcome to the 144th Robert Fuller Fandom annual Q&A. Particular welcome to all the new members who've never been here before. I know sometimes some of you guys want to do presentations. We just don't have the time today, so we're going to do one presentation. Only if you've got anything that you want to present to Robert, you can do it at this table during the course of the week. But young Shaletta will be coming up in 2 minutes, so I hope she's rehearsed her speech and she'll be doing her presentation. That's got to be it because we're short of time. The other thing is, and I would ask this, after the last Q&A, we found that some stuff was going on eBay, videos and stuff. This is a fandom event only. Please feel free to video it, feel free to take your photographs, that's great, but please, they stay with you, they do not get posted on the internet, they don't go anywhere other than in your own personal collections. This is maybe a little bit harsh. I don't want to have to go to the extent of saying no videoing. I don't want to do that. But guys, this is a closed door event. So please help us all to help yourself. That's all I got to say. It's now an open door, and Cary Grant over here is going to
Robert Mitchum.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know. It's the water.
Anyway, I'm going to put this mic down a minute because I think you all can hear me anyway. The main thing I want to... How many new members are in the room right here, right now? Oh my God, that's fantastic. All right, so I want you guys to think that you can be the first to ask questions or whatever, because we don't have a heck of a long time. But I'm so thrilled that you guys are new members, that you're here with us, and we'll have some fun. So what we're going to do, and we usually do this, everybody's done it, we've done it, we started this. I started this thing we're doing right here at the Festival of the West, probably in the, I don't know, 10, 12, 14, 15 years ago, with 5 people in a room. That's really how it started. It really did. And it's
boring.
All of a sudden it's the most incredible thing I've ever been involved in. So anyway, I love you guys, and we'll have some fun. Ask your questions. I don't care what they are. I might not answer them. Not true. You've heard me answer some good ones. Anyway, I'm going to put this down. I think you all can hear me, can't you, if I talk like this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
What do you say?
Who's the smart guy in the crowd? Anyway, Tony, start it up.
Oh, okay. So, we're looking... Oh, there's a young lady over there who wants to ask a question. Please, stand up.
Hi. I'm a retired acting teacher, and I watch Laramie.
No, say it again, honey.
I watch Laramie for the fight scenes and lots of other things, but the fight scenes, and I want to know how close you really come, and has anybody ever come too close and getting hit with the blocking of the scenes?
A great question. I appreciate that. Most of you all know that I've done probably 95, 99% of all the stunts that I do on the show. Horseback, fights, whatever. And I always, there's a stuntman in the business named Hal Needham, who worked a lot with lots of big actors in the business, but I hired him all the time to double actors that I was going to fight with. I didn't trust fighting with another actor, but I trusted this stuntman. So yes, I fought and believe me, Tony and I do a thing which you might see in Memphis if you were there. Believe me, when you punch somebody or hit somebody, it's got to be this far away. But it's all camera angle, which, trust me, this is what it is, what makes it look good. So it's camera angles and being very careful, and it's choreographed like a dance number. It really is. over and over and over, and then finally shot. And nobody really gets hurt. Rarely do they, but sometimes they do. For instance, John Smith broke an actor stuntman's nose by mistake, and it was Hal Baylor. I don't know, you all know who, a lot of people that watch Larry know who Hal Baylor was. And he punched Hal right in the nose and broke his nose. And Hal weighed about 280 pounds and was 6'2", and laughed it off. He really did. Because, well, of course, it was a mistake. But that can happen. I never let that happen because I would not let an actor fight with me. I just, I want a stuntman. I don't trust anybody because I did all my own stunts. And so it worked that way, and Hal Needham was the best in the business. So most of the fights you ever see there are done with him. Good question.
Okay, anybody else got a question? Lady over there. Yeah, I think so.
Tony, I asked this question on the fandom, and Tony told me I should ask it here. And you guys seem to have such a fantastic relationship, teamwork, and friendship, it sounds like. I'm curious how you all met and how Tony kind of got things going on.
Tony and myself,
Yes,
how
sir.
we met?
Yes, sir.
It was a jail. I was flying a plane over Kanab when he was coming back from Vegas drunk one night.
You're serious, you want to know? I was in a bar one night, and over in a corner there was this drunk laying on the ground. And he was in kind of bad trouble. And I walked over and picked him up and said, "What's your name?" He says, "Tony Gill." And, I said, "No." Tony and I have been friends for many, many years now, very close friends. Spends half his time at my ranch riding the horses and having a good time. And
Getting thrown off the horses.
But Tony, obviously, Tony, you were a fan to start with. If you think
That's
you
where
were
it
a
all
young
started,
guy
yeah.
watching Laramie in England many, many years ago.
Yeah.
And finally came to the Festival of the West. Do you remember what year?
2003
2000. That's
or
a
4.
long time ago. And somebody had told me, he said, there's a young man who's a fan. He's from England, and he's going to come here. Please, say hi to him, whatever. And I was aware that you were coming, and you and I met.
Yeah.
And he had a portfolio about this big, full of pictures. And I said to him, well, let's go back. We had a trailer in the back at this place where we could take a break every now and then. I said, come back to the trailer, sit with me for a minute, and we'll shoot the breeze. And he opened up this portfolio that had pictures of me that I've never seen in my life before. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm
we
sorry
sat there
about
and
that.
talked. What'd you just say?
I said, I'm sorry about that. Those bedroom shots were really...
Anyway, it gets worse. But anyway, that's really how we met. We talked a little bit. He came back the next year. We got more friendly, and I just fell in love with this guy because he's a dynamite guy. He's been one of my dear friends forever now. In fact, he's my best friend. And we have a lot of fun.
What's that? Yeah, it was quite an interesting moment. I listened to ladies saying, they meet Robert and they don't know what to say. Well, I was a salesman, so I used to use the gift of the gab and all of that. I had to be able to talk, and when I first met Robert, I went, yeah. The guy who was my hero for many years, and we met in 2003, I think it might have been 2004, I think it was 2003. At the Festival of the West. It was an awesome moment for me, I've got to tell you. He had been, like Jess Harper was a second father kind of. My father taught me how to live and the right from wrong, and Jess Harper reinforced that for me, and it was a very real thing. And it was many years after Laramie that we actually met, and I love this guy to bits. He's the best friend I've ever had in my life. He's taught me more. He's taught me, you can't always do what people teach you, so I don't pretend to be brave and all of that. But he taught me about loyalty, honesty, bravery, all the good things that people should live by, and he taught me that. And when I don't live by those values, I think about that. And he actually taught me also, which was the most important lesson, was how to drink.
Tell them a little bit about shooting and fishing.
Oh, what about it? No, we do.
Well, you never got to do it in England.
No, I don't. I never. This is a true fact. I never ride, and I never fish in England. I only ever ride. I shoot in England, but I only shoot shotguns. I don't shoot anything else. But I never ride in England because I think it's boring, and I never fish in England because I think it's cold. So we fish and we go shooting a bit. We shoot some great stuff, and Robert's introduced me to some great people who taught me a lot about shooting.
And what did you shoot? What kind of guns?
I shot myself in the foot. Oh, we shoot semi-automatics, we shoot sniper rifles, we shoot machine guns. These guys actually sent me, I'm going to tell you a story, we spent a whole day, and I was working, Robert got me set up with a guy called Randy Duguay, who was a young guy, good-looking guy. Could be a movie star with a name like Randy Duguay, and he could. He was in special forces in Afghanistan. He doesn't talk a lot about it, but the guy's been through a lot of stuff we could not know. But he taught me gun to gun to gun to gun to gun, very calm, very good, so and so on. And then all of a sudden he says, I want you to shoot a target which was way back further than any target he'd asked me to shoot, and it was a tin can. And I said, Randy, I can't hit that. And he said, you can do it, you can do it. And I took a shot and I missed it, and he said, okay, we're going to go again. Second shot, I hit it, and this thing exploded. And they'd filled it full of all sorts of explosives. And I turned around, and I actually used the F-bomb. And I turned around, and all these guys with the phones going... So we have an enormous amount of fun, but...
He shot 30 caliber machine guns, sniper rifles, every handgun you can think of.
Magnum.
All my friends have taken great care of him and let him do it. Because in England you can't do it, so he gets to do it. He's a heck of a shot now. Yeah. Anyway, enough of it.
But that's how we met. Yes, sir. Right at the back. Shout.
I'm forced to watch Laramie because the wife is a big fan. My story, I'm going to stick to that. I just have a nasty habit of when I'm watching movies or shows using firearms, I start looking for mistakes. I haven't caught you in one yet. Did you receive any formal training in firearms? And if you did, with who? Back in the Laramie days.
Well, I got you. Yeah, sure. Formal. I bought my first rifle when I was 12 years old in Key West, Florida. I've shot guns all my life. I've been in the Army. I was in Korea. Shot a lot of guns there. Made me deaf today. Almost. Yeah, no, I've spent my life shooting guns. I probably have at home, and I shouldn't say it on camera, but I probably got over 35, 40 guns, rifles, shotguns, pistols, whatever. Shoot them all the time. He shoots them with me. I've always known how to handle a gun, and don't come to my house to rob me. Seriously.
Does Jennifer shoot?
Jennifer's a better shot than I am.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it's a sad thing because I shoot with a bunch of guys. He knows them all. We shoot with sheriffs, police department guys, everybody out at different ranges. And if Jennifer comes, they're not happy because she outshoots everybody. And I don't know how. I taught her how to shoot, but a woman can shoot better than the man and can fish better than the man if they're taught right. And I mean that sincerely, because men are too macho and do this. But a woman pays attention, and she paid attention. It's unbelievable. She shoots that 9mm like this at 30 yards, absolutely, with no problem. And all these guys walk away and say, "Don't bring her back."
And I tell you, she rides pretty good too.
Well, she's a hell of a rider. But let me go on. Let me go beyond that. I did a series a long time ago called, I don't know if you all watched it. It was a fishing show called Fishing Fever.
Yes.
I hosted it. It was shot in the Bahamas. We had a 65-foot Hatteras boat, and we brought guest stars in. And I had Lee Merriweather. Do y'all remember Lee Merriweather, the show she did? But the show before it, I had Tarzan. Who played Tarzan?
Ron Ely.
Ron Ely. So Ron came on the show the night before. We were in the Bahamas, and he hadn't fished very much. And I said, "Now, Ron, we're going to go out tomorrow. We're going to catch 30, 40-pound tuna." And I said, "Have you ever caught that before?" I said, "No, I don't care. I can catch those tuna. Big deal. No problem." So we go out there, and 30 minutes offshore, we're into 30, 40, 50-pound tuna, which is a tough fish to catch. And I wore him out on 3 tuna. He had to go and lay down. Ron Ely, Tarzan, because he wouldn't listen to me. The next week, I have Lee Merriweather and her 2 daughters, and we were out in the same area catching the same fish, and Lee caught 10, 12, 14 tuna without breaking a sweat, because she paid attention to what I said, how to catch the fish and do it. And that's what a woman does, and it's interesting. I've always thought about that with women and shooting and fishing. They pay attention. Yeah. But Jennifer's a great shot and a good fisherwoman.
And a good rider. Jennifer. Not your Jennifer. Some other Jennifer. She hasn't suddenly, like, you know. Up, 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 up. No, I mean voice. Or something, yeah.
I wanted to know how come always in Laramie, the black hat that you wore was always dirty, and Smith's was always clean.
Slim's was clean?
And yours was dirty.
Because I was the ranch hand. I did all the dadgum work. He didn't do anything there. But
Dennis.
We've heard about Ron Fleming. Now, you played with a lot of great support actors and actresses. One I was interested in, and maybe I'll mention her name and then a couple of other supporting actors, okay? Gloria Talbot. What can you say, any first impressions, any funny stories you might have?
I don't have any funny stories about Gloria. I love Gloria Talbot. She was an incredible actress, and I worked with her several times. Yeah, no, but Gloria was, she was one of those actresses that didn't act like an actress on the set or anything like that. She was a pro, and it was fun to work with her. Yeah. And
What about Robert Wilkie?
Bob Wilkie?
Yeah.
Oh my God! Oh, yeah. Now you're talking about some crazy character actors, and I know you can name a ton of them because I worked with them all. Well, these guys were the best. Well, Bob Wilkie was, of course. I mean, Bob Wilkie was Bob Wilkie. You know, what you saw on screen is what you saw on the set. You know, he's a wild man. I love Bob Wilkie.
Do you have anything to say about Lane Bradford?
Lane, oh God, I love Lane Bradford. I'm sorry you said that.
Okay.
I was so sorry when he passed away. Lane was not only a great actor, but he was a friend. For some reason, Lane and I got along very, very well. We'd go to lunch together, have a drink together, or whatever. And he was one of the neat guys in the world.
Yeah.
But I loved him.
Harry Lauder, anything to say about him?
There you go again. You're talking about the cream of the crop. You know that. What you're talking about right now. You're talking the cream of the crop of character actors that I got a chance to work with. Harry Lauder. Harry Lauder got me drunk the first time I ever worked on a show in my life with him. I did a buckskin.
Trial of Chrissy Miller.
What?
Trial of Chrissy Miller.
Whatever. It was a buckskin. It was one of my very good first big roles at Review Studios. Great part. it's a scene when I ride my horse, and on the road, my horse bucks like this, and I look down, and there's a ribbon, and I pick it up, and I take it into town. I go to the bar, and it falls out of my pocket, and it turns out that some little girl had been raped or, whatever, and I'm going to be ravaged by 4, 5, 6 cowboys, and Harry Lauder is one of them. And first time I met Harry in my life.
How about Jack Elam, the preacher?
Well, wait a minute, I'm not finished my story. So we do the scene, and Harry and I's got dialogue together and whatever, and at lunchtime, Harry says, come on, I want to take you to lunch. We're going to Lash LaRue's restaurant up down the road. And I said, okay, yeah, I'd love to go with you. My God, I'm just a young kid, This is one of my very first shows. So Harry Lauder goes in, he says, give this kid a martini. I hadn't been drinking martinis. I was an old, Army guy. I'd been drinking scotch or bourbon or whatever. So I had about 3 martinis and got back on the set, and boy, I was wasted because of Harry Lauder. But luckily, I got through the scenes with him. But I've loved Harry after that, and we were friends forever. Jack Elam, of course, I worked with Jack. Oh, Gotch Eye? What are you talking about? It's a crazy man.
Blind in one eye?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Played a lot of cards with him. He was a good poker player. Keep going. Boy, I'm telling you, you got them all.
Myron Healy.
Well, Mike Healy, of course. Mike did probably 6, 7 Laramies. I'm a lucky guy to have been in the business that long ago. If you think 1950, when pictures were still great and actors were still great in those days, to be able to work with every one of those great character actors you're talking about. And I worked with them every dadgum day of the week. Yeah.
Okay, well, just before we move on, let's get Shaletta up. She has a little presentation to do, so you can move your camera. And I think you're going to get something now. This is the bit where they give you something.
Perfect time for my sinuses to act up. Let you fall.
I love you too,
Yep.
What?
I was out town shopping one day, and I walked into a store, and I came across this, and I thought that you might like to have it.
Okay. I'm going to open it now?
Yeah.
Can I?
Mm-hmm.
Take the bag.
Okay.
Oh my God. You know what it is? It's the biography of Dan Duryea, who was one of my dear friends, and of course did the first episode of Laramie with me, and became a very close. Oh God, that's so sweet. That's so sweet.
You're very, very welcome. Love you. But when I came across it, the first thing I thought was you.
Did you sign it inside?
Yes, I gave you a special message.
It says you owe me $20.
Let's see. I got a bad knee. I guess I
do
better
you need
go over
help?
here.
You're going to have to come back up and help me back on that chair. Let's get you back up.
This gentleman right here, Dan Duryea, is one of the most well-respected actors in the motion picture business, and was a very close friend of mine. And he died of a broken heart. And God, I can't wait to read this book. God, thank you, darling. That's so sweet.
For those interested in buying the book, Robert has a quote in there. He talks about Dan a little bit. So if you're interested, I want to ask a question. We talked a little bit about some of the special effects we did in Laramie, and there was, when you're seeing, you're watching westerns and the guy shoots the coin out the air and all of that. Can you talk a little bit about how those special effects were executed? How, when that coin was in the air and somebody shot it, how did that coin flip back? And when...
Do you all know what he's talking about, a scene like that where somebody shoots a coin out of the air?
Yeah, well, excuse me, I haven't finished. And then when when Jess Harper does the fast shots on the bottles and those bottles crack up and break, how do they coordinate and do all of that? How does that work? I've finished now. I've done now. Out there.
Da-da, da-da, da-da. He brought up a very interesting thing. Every now and then when we've done some of these things, we get to talk about some fun things about the picture business, like how in the black and white shows that blood was Hershey's syrup. Remember that? We've talked about that a lot. Okay, for instance, the one he's talking about where somebody flips up a coin in the air and you shoot it, the way it's done is that the special effects man has like an old bamboo pole that the old guy would fish with years ago. Bamboo pole, on the end of it he's got about 30 feet of 2-pound test monofilament line, which you can't see. And it's just hooked on to a silver dollar or whatever. And he'll stand off stage and the guy will flip it, like this. And he flips it up and it gets to the point where it ends and he'll jerk it like that. And it goes out of the air. But then from down below I shoot the gun, bang, and it looks like it's been shot. So it's on the ground, but it's not the gun. It's not the one I shot. I'm shooting a blank. But the one on the ground has a hole in it. Of course, when they pick it up. But it's special effects. That's the way you do it.
Who did that for?
Well, Frank Brendel was my special effects man. You've heard me talk about him many, many times on Laramie. He won the Academy Award for Earthquake years later. My special effects man, who I worked with for 6 years, Laramie and Wagon Train. And this guy was incredible. And he did all the bullet hits, everything around me that very, very close. We coordinated ourselves close so that nobody could do it like we used to do it. When I would draw my gun and shoot 5 bottles off of a thing, bang, 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 like that, he had squibs, and a squib is a dynamite cap, this big, underneath each one, with a line set up with batteries that would explode those. And we would rehearse without him blowing them off. He'd see me draw, I'd draw, and I'd go without any shells, and he'd go like that. We'd say, okay, let's shoot it. And I'd put the full loads in, and I'd fire, and he would go, and everything would go bang, 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 bang. And it always worked. He was so good. It looked real,
But when you were doing bullet shots were going on ricocheting off rocks, and your head is close to the rocks, how did they control, you not getting blinded or hit with?
Because he and I worked together about it. If a gunshot was going to go off right here, he and I would rehearse 2 or 3 times because it's very dangerous. Could have put my eye out because there's a squib and it's going to be a gunshot. And believe me, it's big. But he and I would rehearse it, and I'd say, okay, when I do this, when I do that, and I'm going to be turned this way, you blow it off. It'll never hurt me. And we did it. And it always looked good. And if he blew out a window behind me, he used an air gun with a pellet this big shot out of an air gun, which could kill you if it hit you. But he could. We coordinated, the two of us. That's why he won the Academy Award. This is not I'm not messing around with a great guy, you know. And I trusted him.
So he shot an air gun,
Yeah,
like this close to your head, to
that
blow,
close.
to blow out the window behind
Absolutely.
you. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
How many people did that then? I imagine on Laramie, not many people would say, "Yeah, I'm going to do that." You would be.
I have no idea, and I don't think a lot of people did.
No, I don't think
But
they did.
I'm me. I do what I do.
Yeah. Was there ever a fight in Laramie? Ever a fight in Laramie, fist fight, that you did not do, or was it you did every single one?
Never. I directed and photographed every fight that was ever done in the Laramie series that you guys watch. I directed it and I staged it.
Okay.
And when I say staged it, I think I said earlier, it's like like staging a dance number. I mean, you go over and over and over, probably rehearse for 20, 30 minutes, for maybe an hour, to get that done right, for the camera to be here, to be there. How many of you people have seen Tony and I do the camera deal? Okay, a few of you. Okay, so you all understand what I'm talking about the camera angles and how it's done. So it's very intricate, it really is. And you have to be very careful and make it look good. In the old days, they didn't do that. They didn't. You watch the 20s and the 30s movies, everybody's swinging, punching like this, everybody's going down, nobody's hitting anybody. But it took a long, long time to get it perfected, where people started to pay attention to it, when Westerns really started to evolve.
What about scenes that were shown on the air in shadow only? If it was just dragged into an alley and then there was a fight and all you saw was the shadow.
I'm sorry. When what?
When the fight scene was only shown by shadows, you didn't actually see you. You didn't actually see the other people. They just showed them in shadows from behind the saloon or whatever it was. Was that really you, or was that something else?
I don't even know what you're talking about. Fights in shadows?
You know, like if you were dragged down an alley, Jess was dragged down an alleyway and it was dark. So you didn't really need to have the real actor there. You didn't need to have you there. Yeah. So when it was dark and the...
Oh, is that what you're talking about?
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, that's what I'm talking
That's what she's talking about.
I don't remember being drugged down too many alleys. I mean, on
Not
TV.
enough, really.
I spent a lot of time in jail, you all know. Honey, you know, I'm sure it was me. I would, honest to God, I would not let another actor go off stage to do dialogue that's supposed to be me with a script person. I'm professional. So whatever you see is me, unless it's really a terrible thing that the studio says this guy's going to die. You know, and I can't think of a few. There might be one or two that I've been doubled where they didn't let me do it, but I can't remember. But there are some, trust me. Yeah.
You know, one thing that I always thought about was, you know, at the end of the Return of the Seven, you and Yul Brynner gallop off into the distance.
Into the sunset.
Into the sunset. Is that, two questions. First of all, is that you and Yul Brynner? Or is that your stand-ins? Because, I mean, who cares? You gallop in and nobody knows. It's two horses and two cowboys and you're gone. But was that you and Yul Brynner?
This is supposed to be my friend. Who in the hell do you think it is turning around riding away?
Okay, well, there's my second question.
Oh.
When did you stop? Whoa! Like, should we play the theme tune while we're galloping? And now, oh, it's finished. We can go back.
That was in Alicante. We stopped in Madrid. You know, we all shot that in Spain, the Return of the Magnificent Seven.
Yes, yes.
Which was fabulous. I had a great time with Yul Brynner.
Yeah. So,
You'll have to excuse my voice, it's just about gone. Bob, do you remember we talked about in Hunt Valley about the fire stunts?
The what, honey?
You were doing some fire stunts.
Fire
during
stunts.
Laramie. Your dumb Bob movements.
What?
You say again, Sal?
Dumb Bob. Your dumb Bob movements.
Yeah.
And the fire scenes, and Bob said he got involved in the fire scenes. I've got one question.
Go on.
Will you ever set a light bulb and exit a building?
Will you ever set a light
On fire.
on
I'm
fire?
missing this all.
Will you ever set on fire in the scene, you know, coming out? Will you ever set on fire?
You mean one of the scenes in Laramie that was on fire? Was I on fire? Did you see me on fire?
Well, this is the question. You know, Defiance and Men of Defiance, there's two different versions. Timeless and what you see on Grit. The ones you see on Grit and Encore, the first part of the scenes, there's this guy who's coming out of a farmhouse. He's been shot, but he's coming on fire out of it. It's not just Harper's character, but the guy exiting that building looks like Bob. Did you do that scene?
I have no idea, honey.
You didn't know if you got set on fire or not.
What? No, I've never been set on fire.
Okay.
Yeah, not at all.
Although it's an interesting point because
I don't even know what show you're talking about. I wasn't on fire, but I'll tell you guys a quick story about the fire. If you're talking about where the barn was on fire and horses coming out, you'll love this. And you all have heard me talk about my favorite Wrangler, Richie Bryn. Fat Richie. This is my dear friend, my hunting partner, my fishing partner. We did everything, you know. But he was the head wrangler of Laramie. He ran the show. He ran the horses. He did everything. He had my horses. He took care of Hoot. Hoot was at his ranch, and he was a good buddy of mine. But he ran the show. So we had a scene where there was a big fire in the barn with horses, and he's involved in that because he has to be one of the guys that tells everybody how to get the horses to run out of the barn when the fire starts. And I'm in the barn. So we have this great director, Les Sealander. You've heard me talk about Les Sealander, the guy I shot in the leg twice. My whole this is an old great director from the 30s and 40s, but anyway, he loved me. But anyway, he's directing this show, and this happens to be the show that, I don't know if it's the one you're talking about, but there was a barn fire, and in a scene, I'm in the barn, and I'm supposed to run the horses out, and Richie's in the barn with me, hazing the horses out, and there's a wheelbarrow in there. And I said, Richie, this is on camera. I said, get in the wheelbarrow. I said, I'm going to wheel you out during the shot. And we did. On action, all the horses run out. There's a fire going on in here, the whole thing. And he said, I can't do it. I said, get your ass in that thing. We're doing it. I'm going to run you out. And I ran him out in a wheelbarrow to the director. The director almost had a heart attack. And the barn's on fire. You got to put it out and start it all over again. But they did it. But that's the stuff I used to do, having fun. That's how we had fun on these shows.
Go to Maggie first. Maggie.
What was your most technically difficult stunt, and how did you do it?
Is that you?
Say it again.
What was your most technically difficult stunt, and how did you do it?
Most stunt. Technically difficult. I've never had one.
Yeah, you did.
What?
The water, the horse, the water. And
Oh my God. Thank you.
You're welcome. Money, money, money.
Oh, I really, you were so, I'm so sorry. I hated it so much, I was so bad I forgot it. During Laramie, Macho Bob, we're on location up north, I don't remember where, doing a scene where I've got to ride boot across a river. I'd never rode my horse, any horse, across a river ever. But the scene calls for Jess and the horse to ride across this river. It's not very big, about the size of this thing right here, but it's deep, 15, 18 feet deep. And first shot in the morning, Macho Bob comes out, ready to shoot the shot, and the director says, "Now we got a double that's good." And I said, "Double?" I said, "I don't use doubles." And I said, "Bob, you can't ride this horse across this river." And I said, "Yeah, I can. What are you talking about?" So Richie Brim, my wrangler, says, "Bob, you don't want to do this. You've never rode a boot across a river. I don't even know if he will, swim across a river." I said, "I don't care. I'm riding. This is it. Shoot the damn thing. Roll the cameras. Let's go. I'm riding that horse." Does that make any sense to you guys? You all know me. So nobody's going to argue with me. So, finally they say, and Richie's saying, "This is ridiculous. This is a bad thing to do." And I said, "I don't care. Let's go. I can ride the damn horse. What do you do? What do you do to ride a horse across a river?" He says, "Well, you sit on the horse. He gets in the water. When he starts to go a little bit, you just slip off, hold on to him, get the rein, hold the saddle, or if you want to, you can slip all the way back, grab his tail, and he'll pull you across." And I said, "Big deal. I can do that." He says, "You can't do that." I said, "Yes, I can." This is probably 10 o'clock in the morning, and I might have had a drink. Maybe. So we're going to do the shot. And I said, "Okay, let's go." Get on my horse, old Hoot, my favorite horse. Action. Right up to the thing. Go into the water. He goes, we get into the water. We get up, and I said, "Okay, it's now it's time for me to slip off like this, like he said." So I start to slip off, and I don't get a hold of anything, and the horse turns around in front of me and goes, pow, 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 like this. Hits me on the knee, drives me under the water about 6 feet, and I think, I'm dead. I don't know what to do. Yes, I do. Dive to the bottom and swim that way, and hope that I don't come up on a horse doing this. And I did. I just swam the other way as fast as I could underwater. And when I came to the surface, George Orson, who you all might know was John Smith's stand-in and a dear close friend of mine too, and half the crew had dove in the water to get me. And I'd come up on the other side. But yes, dumb Bob. Did it, if that. Yes, I did. It was bad news. Stupid. But I did it.
Pub. Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about Frank McGrath and Terry Wilson? And
Frank and Terry?
If you will.
Oh, my God, I can always talk about them. My God, these were... Well, everybody knows Frank and Terry started out as stuntmen on the old John Wayne movies with John Ford, way back. These guys never had dialogue. They never had anything. And it wasn't until Ward Bond got Wagon Train that they got brought on and had a line here and a line there. And all of a sudden turned out to be fine actors. My God, Frankie was one of the mainstays of Wagon Train as far as I'm concerned for all those years. He was a character. And Terry did very well. But these guys were two tough, fun guys. I've been in many bar fights with them. Thankfully, Terry was there because he was tougher than nails too. And yeah, but these are cowboys. We had some rough days in those days. You know, there were 32 westerns going on, and they were all cowboys. And when we were on location, we always got in problems with people and whatever. But Terry and Frankie they were tough. And we never went into a bar that we didn't wind up without getting in a fight. Believe me, on any location we were ever on.
That was true of Terry too. I knew that was true.
The
about
what?
Frank. That was true about Terry also.
Oh, Terry Wilson?
Yeah.
Oh, tougher than $900.
Really?
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you why. Because Frankie would start the fight. Oh no, Frank would start the fight and run behind Terry and say, that guy's giving me a problem, Terry. And the guy'd walk out, and then Terry'd have to fight the guy. I swear, I've been there many, I'm not making jokes. I've seen it, I've been there. Frank would do that. But if we needed Frank, he was there. But Frank was crazy. Frank was, I mean, look at him. He was small, he was diminutive or whatever. But during my days in wagon train with him, God, he must have been in his 70s. If he was riding his horse and they said wrap, he'd ride his horse off and do a saddle fall onto the ground. At 75 years old or something like that. And everybody would go, he's got to go to work tomorrow. Because he was a mainstay of the show. But that's how wild he was. I'll tell you a story. Oh, God, I'll tell you a story. You started it. We used to play a cowboy game called pitch. I don't know if anybody knows it, but it's a good cowboy game. We all used to play it. We used to sit in my dressing room or Frank's or Terry's or whatever and play this card game. My stand-in, myself and Frank and Terry, were in my dressing room one night after work playing pitch till about 11, 12 o'clock at night and drinking, whether you can believe that or not. And drinking pretty good because Frankie could drink. And he got so drunk, and it was time to go home, and all our cars were parked on the main street of Universal Studios. And he started to walk down the steps. And I said, Frank, you are too drunk to drive. He only lived in North Hollywood. We were in Hollywood. He said, I can drive. I'm okay. And I said, no, you can't. You cannot drive. I mean, if you try to drive right now, you'll get a ticket, you'll kill somebody, or whatever. I mean, he was bad. So we held on to him, and I called his wife, Casey. I'm not Casey. And I called Casey on the phone. I said, Casey, Frank is in bad shape, and he wants to drive home. She says, I'll be right there. She's 20 minutes away. We're standing out in the main street. This is 12 o'clock at night at Universal Studios on the main street. And we're trying to hang on to Frank. He wants to fight us because he wants to get in his car and drive. 20 minutes later, right through the gate comes Casey in her car. Drives up, screeches, stops, pulls up, goes over to Frank, hits him right in the mouth, knocks him out, throws him in the back seat of her car and drives off. Honest to God, true story. And we stand there and go, but Casey was tough. And it wasn't the first time she'd done it, I'm sure. I mean, just whacked him. See, you guys get a private story every now and then about that, but it's true, and I don't care who knows about it. It's a true story. I was there.
I have a question. When you played on Cimarron City in the episode "The Blind is the Killer," and so you portray a cocky gunslinger looking to challenge the mayor, Matt Rockford, and you're at the bar, the opening scene. and you take a string and you tie the spurs together of your brother. So my question is, did the writers know you were a prankster and write that in, or was that something you added?
No, I didn't. No, it was in the script.
Oh, okay.
That was in the script. Absolutely. And that was the show that got me Laramie. Yeah. Yeah.
Was that the first time you worked with John Smith?
No, it wasn't, was it?
No, wait a minute.
Friendly
Cimarron
Persuasion.
City?
Friendly Persuasion was the first time.
Well, Friendly Persuasion, but that doesn't count. Yes, it was the first time as an actor. I really, but I never had any dialogue with John in that show. But yes, it was. No, that was in the script. Yeah.
Sure.
Bob, I just watched recently Whatever Happened to Aunt Alice, which was a really good horror movie. And I wanted to know, what was your experience working on that film for Geraldine Page?
Oh my God. Here I am with three women, which are,
Rosemary Frost.
well, Rosemary saved my life. Ruth Gordon and Mildred Dunnick was great. Yeah, but I'm talking about the lead actress.
Geraldine Page.
Geraldine Page.
Oh, it was Mildred
Well,
Dunnick.
Geraldine Page never said a word to any of us on the show. She was not much fun to be around during the days. Mildred Dunnick was a gorgeous old-time actress who I had a lot of good times with. Who's the other one? Ruth Gordon wore a mini skirt up to here and acted like she was 20 years old and was a pain in the neck. And the only thing that saved me was Rosemary, who was supposed to have been here. Rosemary was great. We had big problems on that show because Rosemary and I had love scenes together. And she was dating David Jansen at the time, and we were shooting in Arizona. And the news came out that she and I were having an affair. And it took about 3 seconds for David Jansen to get on a plane and come down to Phoenix to make sure that she and I weren't having an affair. I wish we weren't. No, I love Rosemary. It was a strange show to work on, but it was a good show. It was very, we had 2 directors. It was a Bob Aldrich film.
More?
Will Jennifer be in Laramie with you?
No.
Next. Hope she never sees this. Who's next? Cindy.
You ask, who do you think has to take care of the horses and feed them in plain stalls?
Cindy.
Jennifer has no interest in Jimmy.
Up you get.
I really want to know how you kept.
Cindy!
Yes. I
Ah!
want to know how you kept your hat on. You want me to put it?
No. What?
Stay.
How did you keep your hat on when you were riding so fast?
Double face tape.
The second question.
Ma'am, cowboy knows how to keep his hat on.
The second one is, did you have people help dress you?
Wait a minute, say it again.
Did you have anybody help dress you? Because
Dress me?
those scenes were so
Well, Alice would come in every morning. No, nobody helped me dress. You mean put my clothes on?
Yeah.
You've been watching these movies where it says the dresser is. Well, the dresser is the person that gets the clothes and puts them in the room. He doesn't dress you.
But those jeans were so tight. How did you jump over the fence?
My jeans were so tight?
How did you jump over those fences?
He's that good.
Right, next question.
You know when they were tight is when I jumped off the balcony onto the horse.
Gloria.
Were the picture horses in Spain as well trained as the picture horses we had in Hollywood?
What a great... Did you all hear this? She was asking about the horses in Spain as opposed to our horses in Hollywood. Absolutely not. Our horses in Hollywood, we had two Hollywood places that had at least 500 to 600 horses apiece. Over 1,000 horses that were trained for camera, to stop, to hear gunshots, to not do anything. I mean, trained. 32 westerns in prime time. So every day there were hundreds of horses on every television show in Hollywood, and every one of them had to respect gunshots, do this, do that. In Spain, you're talking about, my God, that horse I rode, he was an Andalusian to start with, and all he wanted to do was this. That's that type of horse. You know, God, I had a tough time riding him. But no, when you go overseas, you're at the mercy of whoever's got you over there. It's not like Hollywood. Believe me, everything is trained in Hollywood. All the years we've been in this business with horses.
So you ride in this different horse, and you clearly do the stunt in the Return of the Seven where the horse goes down and you go down with it. That's clearly you. How did that work when you're working with a horse that is very different from the horses in Hollywood? Because you remember when you rode up, you're galloping down to the bandits in Return of the Seven,
Yeah.
and the horse goes down and you go down with it and you kick your feet out the stirrups.
That's just a foaling horse. He was a foaling.
He was a different horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but no, but my Chuck Hayward had trained that horse to do that.
And who was Chuck Hayward?
Chuck Hayward was Yul Brynner's stand-in, double, great stunt man throughout the business forever.
Right. And where did that horse come from? From Spain, or
No, they brought them over.
They brought that one over. Okay.
You know, all my stuff was brought over. My chaps, my guns, my everything was brought over.
Okay.
For that.
Do you know what? I should tell people, shouldn't I? I've actually got Robert's chaps with me. See that? Oh. Yeah, okay, next question. What we'll do is we'll bring them down to the table one day and have a look. Now, Robert is not going to wear them. I'm not going to wear them. Nobody's going to wear them, but you can see these chaps. They are fabulous. I mean,
Leonard Wood might wear them.
They're a fabulous piece of memorabilia, and he wore them in Laramie. He wore them in Return of the Seven. So we'll bring them down to the table one day so you can all have a look. Okay, this in the back corner there.
Yakima Canuck, you ever worked with them or any
Who?
Yakima Canuck.
Yakima Canuck? Well, absolutely. You all know who Yakima Canuck is? You know, one of the greatest stuntmen in the motion picture business ever. You know, started out with John Wayne 100 years ago, whatever. His son Joe Canuck was a very, very close friend of mine. We had a boat together. We raised a lot of hell with a pirate flag in different places together. But yes, no, I knew Yak. I respected Yakima Canuck very much. But Joe was a good friend of mine. And I would go over to Yak's house to mess with Joe, to go someplace or whatever, and Yak, I'd call him Mr. Canuck, believe me. And he was doing second unit director on a picture called Spartacus. And I was doing Laramie at the time, 1959, on the lower lot of Universal, and Spartacus was being shot up on the top lot. And all my buddies, Joe, Chuck Courtney, all the stunt guys that I used to know and run around with were up there working. And I got off work early that day, like around 11 o'clock. And I said, well, I'm going to go have some fun. I'm going to go up on the upper lot. I knew the wardrobe people. I owned that lot at that time. And I went up and I went to the wardrobe people, and I got a sword, and I got made up, and I got the whole thing, and I went right out in the middle of 2,000 guys doing sword fighting this, where Yak was doing second unit, and Joe was directing all of the action, his son. So I walked in, and I said, hey guys, I'm here. And he said, all right, what do you want to do? Okay, we're ready to shoot this. Okay, Chuck, you go to the other. I'll do that. You do this. You fight there. You do this. We're shooting. I'm in the middle of Spartacus, having the time of my life, fighting, doing whatever, and all of a sudden it's a cut. Everybody comes down. Yak comes down to talk to Joe, and goes around, and all of a sudden, and he looks at me twice, and he says, Bob. I says, yes, sir. He says, that's not you. I said, yes, sir. He says, what are you doing? I said, well, I was just having fun with the guys. He says, do you know that if you got hurt, I'd be fired, I'd be killed, and my whole life would get out of here. And I had to take my sword and leave. Honest to God, truth, really. So I had some fun times. I'm in Spartacus in the middle of those guys. But Yak was incredible. Boy, he's a fantastic man. What a gentleman, and one of the top stunt people in the whole world. And his son is the same. Of course, you know, Charlton Heston. He did everything for Chuck. He did all of the stuff. Yeah, and a great guy. He's retired today. Good question.
Over. Go.
When did you first learn to ride a horse? And also, what was it like working with John Anderson?
John who?
Anderson.
John Anderson.
John Anderson.
Character actor. Don't Laramie in a couple of roles.
English actor. Absolutely, a hell of a guy. You know who he's talking about?
No, I think it's not the English guy. It's
John Anderson.
Oh, was he the English guy? No, you're talking about the very thin guy. You're very thin-faced guy who was looked quite old. What was that episode they played in where he was Robert was in the desert eating on the? I didn't hear any of that, but I'm going to be drinking. I don't care anyway.
When did you first learn to ride?
Oh, Alderson.
Alderson.
That's what John. Oh yeah, of course. I worked with you.
Listen, if you're going to ask a question, you know you really need to spell it.
No, I love working with him. He was a great actor and a good friend. But as far as learning how to ride, the first time I ever rode a horse in my life was in Key West, Florida, when a friend of mine, his dad bought him a big black horse on the beach, and I got on it and rode bareback all the way down the beach in Florida, and of course fell off on my twice. But that's the first time I ever sat a horseback. But who taught me how to ride a horse was Chuck Courtney, who was the star of the Lone Ranger, one of the stars of the Lone Ranger. He was in class with me with Dick Boone, and Dick was a very interesting teacher because he wanted everybody in the class to know how to dance, how to talk, how to ride a horse, how to do this, because of 32 Westerns in prime time. And Chuck took us out every weekend and taught us how to ride a horse. And it was interesting how he did it. We'd rent a horse on a river bottom in California, 7, 8, 10 of us, whatever. And we'd all go, we'd rent the horse and we'd ride out, and Chuck would be there, and I'd be riding along, and I'd be going, yes. And Chuck would come behind me with a stick and hit me on the arm. Bam! Damn! Yeah. Or I'd be like this. He hit me, bam! I'm not kidding. I mean, it hurt the heck out of you as he rode by you. He said, this is the way you ride. You don't do this. You don't do this. You do this. Get up. Ride that horse. Sit up. So he taught me how to sit a horse the way a horse is supposed to be sit. Honest to God, all the way. And he taught lots of actors. I can't even tell you how many that were in Dick Boone's class that did tons of westerns that learned how to ride horses pretty damn good because of Chuck Courtney. And lots of bruises.
When you, in Laramie and wagon training, when you were riding full out gallop on your horse, was there anything done to make sure that the horse that you were riding on was safe for the horse?
Was what?
Was there anything done when you were riding full out gallop to make sure that the course where the horse was running was safe? No holes or rocks or anything for the horse to stumble on?
He didn't care. He could see what's out front. No, my God, horses run like the wind. No, they don't. No, what are you going to say? Every time we do a scene, you're going to take a rock away, or no? Horses. If you walked across the road right here and saw a brick, you'd step over it. So would he. Yeah. No, horses know exactly where they're going and what's in front of them, like we do. They don't look out there.
That way.
Truthfully, I'm very serious. Horses know to step away from whatever's a problem.
Well, I didn't know if you were like out riding through the grass or something, if there was like a gopher hole or something like that, if they had to make.
I guess there's a problem like that. Who knows? You know, if somebody dug a hole, nobody saw it. But
Okay.
no.
I had seen probably all of Twilight Zone episodes, but the episode of Laramie that scared me more than that was the one with Eddie Albert and
Where what?
Glory Road.
I'm still like that.
She's going to
character
talk
that Eddie Albert played was just gone, and
in Glory Road.
Yeah.
The character that Eddie Albert played was
Right.
kind of real loopy.
Yeah.
Go.
you had such subtle reactions that seemed to hide how terrified Jess Harper was of this guy and what he could do if he were loose, so to speak. I know they were fabulous actors. What were they like off stage? Nanette Gray and
Well, you know, Eddie Albert and Nanette Fambray. I mean, that was the second episode.
That's right.
And, I mean, what a thrill for me. I've already just done the first show with Dan Duryea, you know, which is a man I've watched all my life on television and met in Wardrobe, who said, let me take you to lunch the week before. So I'm having lunch with Dan Duryea in the green room at Universal Studios, where Rock Hudson is here, Cary Grant is there, you know, I mean, it's unbelievable. So there I am with a guy like that. And then the next show is Nanette, which I watched on what's her show, she was always on, and Eddie Albert. They were great to work with. Oh my God, it was such a thrill to be able to to actually do dialogue and meet these people in person as a young actor. Yeah, it's frightening. It really is, as a young guy, to have this stuff happen to you. Really, I don't know if that answers anything you're talking about, but Eddie Albert was delightful, and Annette Fabre was a lot of fun, you know.
Jane,
I saw some Q&A.
are you called Jane? You got a deep voice there. Do Jane. I'll
Honey,
give you
did
a
I
minute.
answer your
Jane.
did I answer your question enough?
Yes.
Jane.
I actually have a Hollywood Squares question. Jonathan Winter. He's one of my favorite comedians.
One of mine.
Is he as funny off-screen as he is on-screen? Is he always in character?
Absolutely. Johnny was a good friend. I worked with him, knew him. Johnny is one of the type of people that is on all the time. He's like this, which I love. Jonathan Winters was a neighbor of mine in Toluca Lake, California, along with Bob Hope and a couple people. I would go into my children and I or something would go into the drugstore, and Johnny would be there, and he'd do 10 minutes. Believe me. And the kids would just stand there waiting. And then I'd see him at the butcher shop an hour later. He'd do another 5 minutes. But that's the way Johnny was. He was just fabulous and such a sweet guy. Yeah.